Okay, so welcome to the Mindfulness and Self-transcendence workshop. Hi, Asmita. I'm just going to give brief instructions about our first round of meditation. And since Hitesh is joining us for the first time, and then and I'll also describe the structure of what we do. So actually, let's begin with the structure. The first thing that we do is basic mindfulness meditation. So we just focus on our breathing and we cultivate attention, the cognitive ability to keep our attention in one place, or in other way to see it as a higher level of concentration on the object. So the object for concentration is going to be our breathing. So that helps us in being present with whatever is happening. So right now we are going to use breathing as a way to attend to, but with practice, we automatically our brain gets more and more used to this new habit of attending to the present activity, which is breathing right now. Then when you're outside in the world, washing dishes, cooking food, talking to people, any other activity, it this practice will automatically follow. Same as when we like pick up weights when you go to the gym. So in that moment, your object is that weight, that dumbbell, but the muscle, what's growing is your inner muscle. And then the same strength that you develop in that 1 hour of gym activity is going to go with you wherever you go. If you pick up a bucket, if you pick up a baby, or if you pick up luggage. So that's how it's pervasive. It spreads in across your life dimensions. So the tendency, the habit of paying attention and being here becomes stronger and stronger. So that is like brief instruction, also briefly defining what we are going to do in half of the workshop. The second half is about self transcendence. And in that, usually we do contemplative practices. So that are mm, more difficult to put into words. Like this, how so easy. Keep practicing, and you get more stronger. The other one is very, what do I say, paradoxical, very confusing for our mind to grasp, very fleeting, and which is an essential aspect of mindfulness, an essential aspect of every single spiritual practice, whichever religion or whichever tradition you go to. And that is what we are going to do using some, maybe sometimes a poetry, using a text from maybe a script, spiritual book, or using a koan, like Zen koans are usually, for example, what's the sound of uh, a clap with one hand? So just a koan, it's just confusing because there's no sound when there are no two hands. Just a small example, but that is the second piece of this workshop. So this is how I've structured it, and I'm only doing it for the second time. So I'm also learning in the process. So I'm mostly here as a platform, as a space where our inner teacher can come in. So I'm not coming here as, okay, I'm going to teach you. I'm here to offer a space where anyone can join. And while you are in this space, while we are practicing together as a community, the inner teacher, which is in all of us, which is in every single individual, can come out to the surface. And that is sort of another way of like uh, enhancing our practice, because most times we live in the world. So what we think, how we perceive, what's is most useful than like listening to somebody else or reading a book and learning what other people think about mindfulness or about any way of living in life. It's your life. So my best way of doing this workshop is to be a space in which people can join in and let that inner teacher come out or come to the surface and share their experience. Or yeah, so because that is the one, that inner teacher will be with you individually when you go on living your life. So what we learn from a second person, an outside of who we are, is secondary. What comes from within is primary. So that's sort of an orientation. Is that making sense?
Yeah,
Okay. Any questions?
not for now.
Okay, sure. Okay, so let's begin with our first round of meditation. I'm going to mute everyone, and then so that there are no sounds like other than by coming from my side. And then take a position that's most comfortable for you. And then if you feel comfortable or if it helps you concentrate better, close your eyes and then take all your attention, take all your focus and place it on your breathing sensations. Take a long breath in, hold for a second, and breathe out. Another breath in, hold for a second, and breathe out. One more breath in, hold for a second, and breathe out. Let the breathing happen and let the pace of this breathing go back to its regular rhythm. No need to hold it, no need to control it, no need to change the breathing in any way. Let it be as it is. But make sure you pay attention to the sensations of breath. Notice the expansion of your lungs and stomach when the air goes in, and notice the contraction that takes place when the air goes out. In case you realize that the mind has started thinking or is reliving the past memories or is anticipating some future event or conversation, that's completely okay. Acknowledge that happened and simply come back to your breathing sensation. Begin to notice the changes of breath. Again, become aware of the rhythm of breath. How is it moving in the body? What areas are being touched by the breath? Where do you feel the difference, the changes or sensations arising as a result of breath. Be curious towards the experience of breath. Be so attentive, so curious, and so immersed in this experience of breath that nothing else takes your attention. In case the attention goes to other sensations, other thoughts, sounds, or experiences, acknowledge and accept that happened without judgment, without frustration, disappointment, or anger. Be with that and then simply choose to come back to your breathing. As if the attention is like a torchlight which started focusing on other parts of the room. Bring it back to the breathing. Bring that torchlight back onto the sensations of breath and stay focused, fully attentive here. If the mind is somewhere else, events of the past or future, drop it and come to the present of breath. Keep bringing the mind back to your breathing. If the mind wants to accomplish things, get to a future state, drop it. Not with anger, not with disappointment towards the mind, with compassion, leave all that. With compassion, let the thoughts of future or past go away and bring the attention on the breath. If you notice the mind is planning or trying to take control of some situation that is not even present right now, some task or assignment or work, if you notice mind is engaging in that, attending to that, that's okay. That's what the mind does. It likes to be in the future, likes to be in past memories. We are accepting the nature of the human mind, not trying to change it, not trying to judge it. All we are doing is taking attention away from those activities and placing it on the activity of breath. The only thing happening right now, each time you realize that mind wandered away to something else, is an opportunity, is a realization, is the moment you become aware of the mind. So use this opportunity to come back. Each time you come back, you deepen your meditation practice. Each time you come back is equivalent to lifting that weight of strengthening the brain muscle. It's completely fine for the mind to wander away. That is part of practice. But the moment you see the mind was somewhere else, pick it up and bring it to your object of attention for this practice. Notice how the breath is. Notice the changes that are happening in your body as a result of breath. Let's take a long breath in together and breathe out. You can open your eyes and come back to the room. Okay, so now, firstly, thank you for meditating with me and welcome, Maylene. Now, what we do is we share how our experience was, or if any questions came up during that meditation, or anything that you feel like sharing. I'll do it a little bit first to show what we are like, to help you understand. So, for me, of course, the experience was slightly different because I'm guiding, but I did notice my mind going to random thoughts. Of course, like my mind came to, oh, open your eyes and check if someone else joined in or not. So my mind tries to give me that option. And then, like, also the, the feeling of taking control of situation that are outside. Like, oh, I should have reminded some people who might have forgotten about the time, or I should have added this extra information in the email to help them, for example, to add it to the calendar. So, like, very interesting thinking process was happening. But then I was again, because I was leading it, I was asking others to do it. It was easy for me to notice, come back to my breathing. So there were some difficult thoughts or some thoughts that were not part of practice, or but gave me the opportunity to come back. So that's sort of inner experience, but I was mostly a lot of times thinking what's happening out there, like with all of you. So that happened. Hmm. How about others? Anyone wants to share how their experience was?
Um, I remember in the beginning, you talked about how to go back to your, I guess, normal breath after taking a deep breath in and then a deep breath out. But I found myself like continuing the same pace. Like
Hmm.
I couldn't go back to my normal, like I
Hmm.
guess my regular breathing is more like faster, and I
Hmm.
couldn't go back to that regular pace. I was taking in deep breaths and like deep breaths out the entire time. So
Hmm.
I guess I was like, do we have to go back to the regular pace? Like I like this pace. So I was
Hmm.
confused with that. But I found myself more focused, I guess, this time. I didn't
Hmm.
have many fleeting thoughts or anything like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think it's okay to have the breathing at a pace which is natural for you. So maybe that was natural. Hmm. But thank you for sharing. Anyone else who wants to share? Hitesh, I think you were speaking. You're mute.
Sorry. Yeah. Can you hear now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So maybe in the first 1 or 2 minutes, I was outside of my body.
Hmm.
Then I was able to focus like my breathing. I was like actually was seeing, like the
Hmm.
air going in and going out. Just you just feel the lung. And I was having some conflict because I do the meditation like Isha Kriya or Sambhavi Mahamudra. So that's why I was having conflict between this meditation and that one. So I was focusing more on like mind and then again on breathing. So that's it. But it was good. It was really good. I was able to concentrate.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing.
Okay.
And yes, and thank you for bringing that conflict too. And yeah, I totally understand. There are
Yeah, it's
so
like
many.
I'm not the body and I'm not even the mind, and that's
Hmm.
this comes between that,
Yeah.
especially focusing on between your eyebrow.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a difficult one to crack. I don't know what to say, but I trust you to choose what feels right. So yeah,
Thank
just do that. And I have had many conflicts with many practices.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So yeah. Okay. But thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
And also, while you're sharing, you can share how your practice has been in past, or I also want to open space for checking. Did you meditate last week? So that is also there for anyone. Who wants to go next?
Ellie, she's practicing a lot. Go ahead, Ellie.
Did anybody tell him that we can just randomly pick names and we let people flow? No, nobody did that, right?
Randomly pick what?
Did anybody tell him?
Oh no, I didn't. He's your friend, so he can do that, I guess.
Hi, I'm sorry that I came late. I had to take care of something else. Well, I missed the meditation today, the first one, but I've been meditating a lot lately, especially this week, because I really wanted to have something to tell you. Like, you guys inspired me to actually, put that into perspective. And it's been quite interesting, I will say,
Mhm.
because I am gaining my attention back and I've been able to meditate outside of the meditation itself. Like, I am like aware of, my day. Like, I'm constantly coming back into the practice in my daily life. So
Mm.
that's the thing I find interesting, and it happens when I get my practice serious. Like, when I am constant meditating, I get to do that. And well, I'm happy for that. I don't have it. Thanks, you guys, for calling me out.
Thank you.
Mm. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, and I'm glad that you are meditating more often during the week. And it's okay if you miss the first one. We'll have another one. So yeah. I'm just checking, Yash, if you want to share or pass.
Um, it's been the same, I guess. Like I was trying to relive the past memories. No, not
Mm.
like just the past events which happened just today again. I was able
Mm.
to, be aware of what kind of thoughts I'm having.
Mm.
So yeah, but I couldn't meditate in the last week much.
Mm-hmm.
But there was interesting thing. I don't know. Suddenly I was feeling low on Wednesday or something. Then I actually noticed that normally 2 months ago or 1 month ago, I was maybe 2 months ago. I could that mood I could have carried for maybe few days, but
Mm-hmm.
last Wednesday I just noticed, okay, you're going to that mood again. And
Mm.
I didn't do any self criticism. I was
Mm.
like, it's okay, it's just a phase, it will just pass.
Mm.
So the next day I was okay. So
Mm.
I was happy about that.
Mm.
I noticed that improvement in me.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. Again,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing, and also thank you for being vulnerable about sharing personal experience and great noticing. You know, the one who notices is always there. So whichever phase we are in, there is someone noticing, and that is true. That is like the true nature. So yeah, thank you for sharing. Okay. Any other comments or questions before we move on to our next thing?
Nope.
Okay. Let's see. So I have so many options for today. I'm going to quickly check. So let me do this. So if I ask you all these questions, why do you meditate? So I understand, like, of course, have been meditating here, but I know everyone has had a meditation practice in past before even coming here. Why do you engage in meditation? What is the purpose behind it? Or what is your goal? You can write it in chat or say it out loud. It's up to you. What comes to your mind?
I guess the reason I'm engaging in is because, like, last summer I did the meditation with you. I don't have a meditation practice as such, but the last time I did, my experience was nice. Like, I felt calmer, I felt like less anxious, and I felt like I was giving thought to my days. I was spending like my days with, like, you think about your day, you reflect back on it. It was like
Hmm.
peaceful to engage in that, and I wanted to recreate that
Hmm.
kind of sense. So that's the reason I'm kind of engaging in meditation practice. And I feel like engaging it with a group is more easier than having to do it individually as
Hmm.
well. So
Hmm.
having a group kind of holds you accountable for having that 1 hour of your day dedicated to medication. Sorry,
Hmm.
meditation. And
Hmm.
yeah, so it's just like I don't have a purpose behind it. It's just like it helps me calm my nerves. It helps me reflect more.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. And I'm so glad that was the last summer was the first time year of experience for you. Hmm. Any thoughts for other people? What is the reason you meditate?
Uh, I'm not mute. I'm not. Okay. Um, to go beyond yourself, to know
Hmm.
yourself much better.
Hmm.
Of course, it's like controlling your body and mind.
Hmm.
That's that can be a main reason. Uh, and there are uh, so many things which we cannot understand, uh, and we can explore behind our imagination, which can be done
Hmm.
by the meditations.
Hmm.
So many possibility. Not even that, even while doing the meditation, you just don't do meditation, you explore so many things, and including you receive so many uh, knowledges, different knowledges without knowing, but it's
Hmm.
in sometimes when you have that phase, you really
Hmm.
change your body, your mind, your peace, of
Hmm.
course, and you know how to tackle the problems, so many things.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing again.
Thank you.
Yeah, to know yourself, like your first piece, and also with so many ways you can have a better quality of life and better understanding of this whole thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
What about others?
So for me, I have tried different meditation techniques, like Sadhguru meditation technique and Brahma Kumari's meditation technique.
Hmm.
But I think I could able to connect to the third one, which I attended the 10 days Vipassana retreat.
Hmm.
I was able to connect more to it, and I had very profound experience over there, 10
Hmm.
days. Um, for me, yeah, all the enlightened, the spiritual leaders, they say, so meditation is a catalyst to know your true self or your inner self, to reach there.
Mm,
So I just want to know what is that truth. And
mm,
every enlightened, yeah, soul says that one have to experience that. I think for me, I want to experience through meditation. So
mm,
that's the sole
mm,
purpose for me. And also, it not only for that, I think it helps you to get better organized and balanced in your life,
mm, mm,
in general too. So
mm. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah. I really like that, like to understand your true self. And yeah, that's has been very similar experience, like for me, because I heard that from so many people, like this is a vehicle, meditation is a vehicle to understand who you are. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else who wants to share? Oh, and you can pass also. Okay. So the reason I'm asking firstly is, so when when we are doing this practice, if we have some goal in mind, that's very helpful. Firstly, for the mind, it's having some goal and understanding why to do it, for motivation and all those reasons. And then the other thing is, uh, in culture, many times it's meditation. For example, right now, the Western way of taking it has made it more like commercialized and profit oriented, and then it's the purpose has shifted from what how why these mindfulness practices were actually introduced. So like this is mostly like how it started in Buddhism, like how Buddha became enlightened at, I think, when he was 35 or so, and then how he started teaching these practices. The purpose was to realize yourself. That was the goal. Now we see like MBSR, like stress reduction, or you can become more efficient as a work an employee. You will be able to produce more commodities if you're mindful. So of course, great benefits. Or your memory is going to be better. There's so much research and psychology on that too. Or your cognitive skills are going to be great. Or you'll be a better person in relationship. Of course, these are great things, and there's so much research. But all these things are side effects of meditation practice, not the goal. So that's why I'm asking this question, and also reintroducing why mindfulness practices, which includes meditation and then yoga, also like that comes from Hinduism. The main reason was self realization, and the side effects are many. But at least when I am doing it, I want to stick to the spirit of why these mindfulness practices were introduced, either by in the Buddhism or either in Hinduism or whichever tradition we look at. So that was a little bit of why we do it. Now I want to move to the second piece of our practice, which is contemplative practices. And now I want to ask, why do we do? First, do you know what we have discussed contemplative practices? What comes to your mind when you see this question? Why do we do contemplative practices? See, the first one we did was very basic mindfulness, focusing on your breathing. Second one is contemplative, like what we are discussing. We're contemplating on it. Any answer that comes to mind? Okay. So, what happens is, again, this is sort of, let me read it. when the clouds are dense, the sky isn't visible. As they become thinner and clearer, we see that the sky was there all along. Similarly, when the thoughts are dense and frequent, the truth isn't visible. As the thoughts become subtler and less frequent, making the mind, I can't even see because of the shade.
Making the mind still.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I had all the videos, like all of your squares, so I could not see the whole thing. Making the mind still, we see the truth was there all along. And then, usually, poetry, paradoxes, and koans, or like things that we see in other spiritual texts, are used in contemplative practices because they still the mind. Is it making sense? And in stillness, we experience gaps between the thoughts. And in those gaps, you see glimpses of who you are. Is that making sense, or anything that's coming up when you read this?
I guess, how do you define contemplative in meditation? Like, I know I've missed previous classes, but you might have explained that, but I didn't.
Sure. So, in short, like when we read a poetry or a paradox or a koan, or when we go, what we are going to do next is we'll just go read a small text. So it's just confusing for our mind to understand. So for example, let's say, if I simple ask that question, who are you? Like, how do you define yourself? What comes to your mind?
You want me to answer that?
Sure.
Okay. As of now, like, I think female comes to my head, then I'm 24-year-old, and then I'm an international student. Those things come up in my head.
So if I say, if if I if you do not have your memories, if there are no memories, then who are you?
I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm simply just asking this to put the mind in a state of not knowing, or sort of confusing. Because for mind, answering things that have a fixed definition is the easiest. That's what it does. That's what is meant for. Everything that has a solid definition, gender identity, your nationality, and the things that we like, student. So the identities that we usually use to operate in the world have a definition, can be put into a box. Everything that is outside of the box, everything that cannot be described in language, the mind cannot grasp And I think I've used this, and I will use this metaphorical way of describing again. My hand is like the mind with five senses: hearing, seeing, touch, smell. So it can see, it can hear, it can touch and grasp everything that is within the limits of five senses, within the limits of five fingers. So pen is solid is in nature, easily can grasp. My hand can so easily hold it. This wire or this thing, I can easily hold it. This meditation bowl, the hand can easily hold it. But the moment I try to hold the empty space between my hands, the empty space behind my head, the empty space everywhere, I'm trying to grasp. I'm using both my hands to hold it, to touch it. Forget holding, I can't even touch it. What I'm touching is air, maybe, but the empty space that is even outside of the air and also inside of everything. So empty space is just like pervasive everywhere. It's outside of the planet Earth. It's never ending. It has no beginning. It has no end. The more I try to grasp it, the more I fail. The more the mind tries to understand it, the more it fails. The more the mind tries to comprehend it, define it, put it into a box, the more it fails. And that is contemplation. That is a contemplative exercise. When we go through it, we try to understand something that is beyond any understanding, beyond comprehension. And that stills our mind. Is that making sense?
Yeah, that made a lot of sense. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for today's contemplation, I'm going to open a book. Let me see. Oh, where did it go? Oh, it's here. Okay. So it's already on the slides that I have shared. So, and I'm so glad I found a free copy of or like a PDF version of this book. So you don't even have to buy it. Okay. So everyone can see. Okay. So I'm simply going to read this page. And this is a book called I Am That by Nissargadatta Maharaj, who's like was a sage from India. I think he died in the 90s. I don't know exactly, but this is a wonderful book. Very confusing and very clarifying both. Some parts of it are so beyond the mind, but when you just read it, it kind of makes sense to the true self in you. So we are going to read it. And then again, the mind, like I said, might not understand and might react and might have emotions. Oh my God, what is this? Like he's going to say, you are God. So we have so many things associated with what God is. And like so many cultures have defined God in so many ways. And then automatically mind usually reacts in a way. So that will happen. Sure, notice it. But at the same time, your true self, what you are essentially, will know what is. It will feel familiar. I hope it will feel familiar. If it does not, it's okay. We are here to contemplate together. Is that clear? Okay, so I'm going to read, and if you at any point you can stop me, and we can like go more into that line or that kind of discussion. So this book is only like question and answers by the student and then the teacher. So questioner Q is questioner, M is for Maharaj. That's what that master. So the student is asking, how am I to think myself out when my thoughts come and go as they like? Their endless chatter distracts and exhausts me. Maharaj, watch your thoughts as you watch the street traffic. People come and go. You register without response. It may not be easy in the beginning, but with some practice, you will find that your mind can function on many levels at the same time. You can be aware of them all. It is only when you have a vested interest in any particular level that your attention gets caught in it and you black out on other levels. Even then, the work on the blacked out levels goes on outside the field of consciousness. Do not struggle with your memories and thoughts. Try only to include in your field of attention the other, more important question, like who am I? How did I happen to be born? Whence this universe around me? What is real and what is momentary? No memory will persist if you lose interest in it. It is the emotional link that perpetuates the bondage. You are always seeking pleasure, avoiding pain, always after happiness and peace. Don't you see that it is your very search for happiness that makes you feel miserable? Try the other way, indifferent to pain and pleasure, neither asking nor refusing. Give all your attention to the level on which I am is timelessly present. Anything that is coming up for anyone? Anything that you feel like sharing or asking? Okay, I'll go on. Soon you will realize that peace and happiness are in your very nature, and it is only seeking them through some particular channel that disturbs. Avoid the disturbance. That is all. To seek, there is no need. You would not seek what you already have. You yourself are God, the supreme reality. To begin with, trust me, trust the teacher. It enables you to make the first step, and then your trust is justified by your own experience. In every walk of life, initial trust is essential. Without it, little can be done. Every undertaking is an act of faith. Even your daily bread, you eat on trust. By remembering what I told you, you will achieve everything. I am telling you again, you are the all pervading, all transcending reality. Behave accordingly, think, feel, and act in harmony with the whole, and the actual experience of what I say will dawn upon you in no time. No effort is needed. Have faith and act on it. Please see that I want nothing from you. It is in your own interest that I speak because, above all, you love yourself. You want yourself secure and happy. Don't be ashamed of it. Don't deny it. It is natural and good to love oneself. Only you should know what exactly do you love. It is not the body that you love, it is life. Perceiving, feeling, thinking, doing, loving, striving, creating. It is that life you love, which is you, which is all. Realize it in its totality, beyond all divisions and limitations, and all your desires will merge in it, for the greater contains the smaller. Therefore, find yourself, for in finding that, you find all. How is everyone doing? Any comments or questions that are arising?
I have an interesting question.
Sure.
Um, yeah, so to this question, how did I happen to be born? By the creation.
Say
I
that
till
again.
now I never
How did
have.
what?
How did I happen to be born, or why the creation?
Hmm.
Like questioning why the creation. I never happened to encounter proper answer for this. In fact, in one book, it was said that rather than questioning why the creation, uh, question how should I live life to the fullest.
Hmm.
Uh, so is it okay to have this question, but still it taunts me like why
Hmm.
the creation, why I'm even born?
Why am I even born?
Yeah,
Is that
I
your?
didn't ask. Yeah, I didn't ask. Why?
Hmm. But yeah, so you have this question, why am I born? Or
um Rather than why am I born, I think I partially know yeah, some satisfactory answer to that, but
Hmm.
why the creation? Yeah, that's my main question. Why the creation?
Sure. Is it okay if I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you, were you ever born? When were you born?
Maybe I was born out of desire.
I'm asking when were you born? I'm not asking
When?
why. Yeah.
um I don't know.
Okay. I like that answer. Different from a birth date. Usually I get a birth date.
Okay.
Hmm. Anything else that comes to your mind when I say, when were you born?
I don't know the starting. I don't know when it's going to end to.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So if you ask for in this physical life, yeah, I have a date. But
Hmm. Yeah. So the reason I'm asking is like when you go to ask why was I born, like before going to why, do you even know were you born? So were you ever created? I understand the other question that you were saying. Why did the creation create me? Yes. I'm asking, when were you created? Or were you even created?
I'm not just questioning to my creation, like the whole creation, the whole
Hmm.
existence.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting question. Is it okay if I ask others if they have something answer sort of coming up? Would that be okay with you? Anyone else has an answer or a comment on that? Why was the whole thing created?
Can I ask who wrote this?
Oh, sure. Hi.
Oh,
Yes. Say that again. You were going to.
who wrote this? Is it Rumi or?
Oh, who wrote? So this is a page from I Am That, which is I posted the book on the slides. It's by Nissargadatta Maharaj. Yeah, and
okay.
a free PDF is available. So I'm just opening that on the internet.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so since we are contemplating in this question of creation and why, I don't think I will give us, or I have a solid answer why and stuff, but I do have an exercise for exam to inquire further into maybe when did I like began, or what is the beginning kind of. So if let's say I have several light bulbs in my room, and I'm sure you have light bulbs around you also. What is that bulb made of? What are the structures? What are the things that it is made of? So when I ask that question, the usual answer is, okay, there's a glass physical body, this filament, some metal, some wire. Yes, so it's made of this. The next question, what is running this bulb? Like, okay, it's run by, the answer that comes is electricity. It's this electricity that's flowing in the bulb, in this one and the other one also. Yeah, that's what is running this electric bulb. What is electricity? If I ask that question, the natural answer, oh, it's a form of energy. Okay, so yeah. So here's a bulb, physical structure. There is something in it that's running it. And there's also is a form of energy. What's kind of more important in the whole thing? The answer usually comes is, oh, energy. Well, that's what is running this bulb. If there's no electricity, it's just a piece of trash. It's useless. So that's sort of a contemplation. And then about this bulb. But then when I ask the same questions for what this is, what is this? So when I direct that question to my own self on this, what I see here, oh, that's a human body. What is running it? Some kind of energy, whatever fuel is consumed. What's more important? I think the energy that is running it. If the energy is not there, it's just a flesh, nothing. It can dissolve back into the planet. So now, if I inquire more or contemplate more on what this energy is like, how do you define energy, which is running the bulb and also running this whole human structure? In physics, we learned at a young age that energy, that those, I think, laws of conservation of energy, I think, energy cannot be created, energy cannot be destroyed, energy can only change its form. Very basic things that we learn. And these are universal laws applicable to all forms of energy. Cannot be created, cannot be destroyed. Energy can only change its form. So when I use that, oh, any comments or questions coming up?
Yeah, that's a very interesting way, like metaphorically speaking, because energy, it's only one source, right? So the energy that runs through your house is not different than the one that runs through my house. It cannot be divided. It's just one thing canalized into different channels, you know?
Yeah.
So it's also very interesting to see how we can match the metaphor into that we are just one energy that flows into different channels, as you want to call the flesh.
Hmm.
You know,
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for adding that. And yes, if I go more into what Aileen was saying, so the energy that is running this bulb in this room is the same energy that's running the bulb in my living room, and the same energy that is running the bulb in the neighbor's room. So it's all essentially one energy that is running all these bulbs. And then when I take that same contemplation onto humans, onto animals, if we just go keep using our intellect and keep dissecting inside and see what is running us all, we find that same energy is running every living thing, every form of life. So, yes, so that's when we find that oneness, and that's wonderful. Con- Intellectually, you can like what we are doing, understand it so easy. But there is a deeper experiential understanding when we look within. So that's one piece. Yeah.
it's kind of like we get trapped, or like we get trapped into thinking that we are the bulb when we're actually the energy that runs through it, not thing.
Yes. Yes. Our thoughts usually keep us identified with the physical structure, and we forget the essence, what's inside. So we most often think, oh, I am this flesh and I am this bundle of thoughts, the psychology, the memory that we carry. So we combine them and we come up with an identity of who I am. But essentially, if you keep interpreting, if you keep going in, dissecting inside your true nature, all this outside structure no longer seems real. It seems like, oh, an idea that I was identified with. So, yeah. But going to that question of who created me or why was I created? So, my question is like, was I ever created? Now, when I take that contemplation further and ask, okay, so there is physical structure, but there's essentially this energy. So, if I am, what am I? The physical body, the thoughts and memories, or am I the energy, or am I something else? There is a point when we come to an understanding or seeing or experiencing ourselves as energy. So, if I am this energy, and if I take that physics universal law into the equation, was I ever created, or can I be destroyed? If I just put these two equations together and ask the question, if I am energy that cannot be created, cannot be destroyed, was I ever created? Will I ever be destroyed? Was I ever born? Will I ever die? Then the ideas start crumbling down. The idea that we usually hold on to, the body, and the psychological definitions of self start breaking down. Okay, it's these are not making sense. If I am energy, that it cannot have a beginning, it cannot have an end. Is that making sense, or is that confusing?
Yeah, it's confusing for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, I guess, for me anyway, I'm not a psychology student, but I do work in health and mental health.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, the way I see it is that, well, we're present now and we're communicating, and we're present now and talking. So my existence is here. It is real. There is a reality to that, me being born. And I guess your what I hear you say is that it's about energy, so it's not created or destroyed. But does it have to be ascribed to energy? That our existence, because we're using physics there, right? And does it? I mean, you know, does our existence depend on energy? What I'm trying to say to you is that maybe maybe the filter or the thing that you're using is based on pure energy, but I don't see it as energy. I just see it as that, yeah, I'm alive, I'm breathing, I'm in the moment, I'm talking to people, I can see people. And again, they're probably very superficial things because they're very obvious and not innate or within us that we can't describe. And I guess usually not everybody, but you know, for myself, usually kind of attribute my existence to faith. There's a reason why I'm here, usually for a purpose. For me, it is a religious purpose, but also maybe there's some, you know, there's an existence for a reason or a purpose or a meaning. So, yeah, I guess I can attribute it to that.
Yeah, that's true. And thank you so much for sharing. And yes, I'm offering a different kind of perspective, but at the same time, I'm a mental health worker. I work as a therapist, and I live in this world, and I operate in this world, and I use all these ideas. Most of what you mentioned, I operate using those ideas too.
Yeah.
But what we are doing here, and then again, all these ideas are made of some energy. A mental energy is used to come up with an idea that I am this person who has this body. While speaking, while moving my hand, there is some energy manifesting itself in these movements, in these words, there is energy. So what I'm pointing towards is underneath every single move, underneath every single thing, there is energy that is in play. And what we are doing here is contemplating what is that, getting in touch with that, being one with that. Because and why do we do this? Because when we get identified with ideas in our mind and a separate sense of self, then we then we find it difficult to feel connected with the whole, with the universe is is essentially manifesting each individual cells. So I think last week we discussed that if I identify with a drop of water, I can't see that I am the ocean within. And if the moment I drop that definition, oh, I am this small drop, I'm this small person, we can feel one with the ocean. And then there is no separation between who this one drop is and the ocean. Then the living or life is really full. The suffering that comes into our mind comes when there are separate things that are coming up. Conflict takes place when many things come into this one existence and they are in contradiction with each other, causing suffering. Anyways, there are so many ways I can put words to this, but I think I'll answer your or maybe respond to this in the best way by saying, I think it's a Rumi's quote and it's on my wall, but I'll try to remember. Silence is an ocean. Speech is a river. When the ocean is looking for you, don't walk into the river. Listen to the ocean. So that's what we are trying to do, because we are the ocean essentially anyways. Our mind makes us forget that. So we are just trying to remember. Is that making sense?
Yeah, kind of. I think it's a bit hard for me to get away from the concepts and ideas. Last week, I couldn't come because I was on a retreat, and a teacher on the retreat something called a 4-element meditation. Never come across. She said, "Oh, we are part of the, we're made up of 70% water, and we are connected to water, and we're connected to fire, and air, and the other one, the earth, that will die and decompose." So that for me was really fascinating, because I never realized that. She said there's no concept, we're not separate, that we're all, I don't know if it's related to what you're saying, but when you said those things, that's what came into my mind, that I never knew that we were so related with nature, and so kind of, we need each other. It's almost like a symbiotic, or kind of, you need to coexist in some sense, and that we're not different, we're all the same. And maybe that's what I hear when you say that.
Yeah, and again, thank you for sharing. And I understand when we hear these things, the mind responds with, "Oh, but what about this? I have this also. I have this also." And it's okay. Everything is accepted here. It's like the mind usually comes up with fear of annihilation, because if we get the understanding of the deeper knowledge or the deeper truth, that mind will no longer be in control. So the mind will react so strongly to defend itself. The moment we surrender the mind and for the bigger understanding, or to be with the bigger truth, the mind is no longer there. So it's the death of the mind. And only the mind can die, the body can die, but like I said, the energy cannot die. And that is more real than the ideas, the concepts that we come up with. And it's difficult to accept them, accept that at times, because the mind does not want to, will not like to accept it, because acceptance or surrender of that truth is the death of the mind itself. Is that making sense?
Yeah, it's something to kind of, I think in a sense, still kind of in progress with that, but I think I would probably have to be a bit more open to it. I think that's probably what I'm trying to do, because you're going to have resistance to things. I sense it, and I'm like, just allow it to just sink in, and because naturally I'm trying to work out what you're saying and make some logical sense from it, and there is no logic sometimes. So yeah.
Yes, there is no logic in these things. So yeah, and thank you so much for being so vulnerable and for sharing this with the group.
Mike, can I add something?
Sure. And let me ask Sadia, is it okay if other people add to what we're... Yes. Okay, sure.
So for me, energy is like, whatever you said about the energy, I agree with you. And that we saw everything around us is like a different form of energies, okay? Different, made with the different elements, but it's the same as at the end, it comes from the energy. Even yogic science, we talk about, I don't know if you know about the 5 elements, right? Like human body made with the 5 elements, which is water, earth, space, wind, and fire, right? Wind and fire. So it's the same thing. So example, say about the lights, right? If there is no lights, you cannot see anything. Like there is nothing. Even if you are exist, you cannot see anything. So it's a light is kind of a form of the energy, right? If there is no energy exist in certain way, you cannot see anything, or you cannot feel, you cannot have anything. So same like our body is made with those elements, and that's why we see everything around us. Everything on earth, whatever is exist, is made with some kinds of element, but it's a form of the energy, right? That's how we use in the science also, or in the physics also. But in by scientific way, there are so many things which you cannot explain, right? That's why they have always different elements, right? And they call always different energy to sorry, I'm I'm not able to find that word exact for this.
Hmm. It's okay.
It's kind of different energy, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. And yes, we have come up with so many things to understand this, like scientifically, but at the same time, like earlier I was saying, our mind is bound to fail. Like the fingers cannot grasp certain things within its limit, and it cannot grasp empty space no matter how much it tries. And it's
Yeah.
okay to not have words because words are limited.
Yeah.
Language is limited to understand what we are talking about here. We can point towards it, we can experience it. Any other comments?
Yeah, so whatever you said is true actually. Mine will always try to interpret or crack these questions, but I think it always fails. It will always fail. And yeah, I know this, but sometimes it pinches it back. Like yeah, again the all these questions come back. But I think rather trying to understand through mind, I think it's better just put it at rest for some time, and maybe there are where, like, where we can reach, try to understand the truth.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you so much for sharing. And I also want to be mindful of the time. It's almost 10:30. But yeah, to just summarize it, it's yeah, the where we live in is very mysterious. That's what makes it fun. And all what we are talking, so you are noticing your mind having these contemplations, having confusion, or having things that, oh, it's not understanding, it's not making sense. The whole time somebody is noticing. And one thing that comes to mind, even when we are in deep sleep, when the mind is sleeping, to be psychologically, scientifically speaking, we're unconscious. But then we wake up next day, oh, I slept so well. I was so relaxed, such a nice deep sleep. So my question is, there was someone awake in that moment who noticed that deep sleep is happening. So there is someone always awake in you anyways, despite of the mind and body in absolute unconsciousness, that is awake. So, and it's impossible to understand that. But you are that in essence. Okay, so I will end today's workshop on that note, and I will look forward to seeing you all next week. And yeah, and I'll put this recording on YouTube like every week. So if you miss something, you can always go and like watch it. And that's all. That's kind of it. Thank you so much for joining me. It was so fun, like to meditate and practice and contemplate and discuss this together. I love this.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I just ask,
Sure.
what time was the session? Because I thought it was at 3. That's why.
Oh, yes.
So
So
in the
we,
UK, it's at 3 o'clock. So that's why, and I'm thinking it's ending. Has it changed the time?
yeah, I'm so sorry. I think I posted last week. We went through the stupid daylight saving. So we are in a different time now. So it's 9 a.m.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So US goes through, and I don't know other countries also, daylight saving. So
Oh,
so yeah. So you will, if you're in UK, it was starting at 3. Now it's going to start at 2 p.m.
oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't in last week. Okay, so right, so it's 2 now.
Yes. Yes.
Right. Thanks for letting me know.
So it's 9 a.m. still for us, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For you, it's 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for joining. And yeah, I'm glad you went for a retreat, Sadia, and we missed you. It was very helpful to like have you in these discussions. And thank you for asking wonderful questions, everyone. I'm gonna let you go and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend ahead.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye-bye.